All right, next two questions are from Jonathan. Mr. Charles, do you think that the Holy League should be restored?
Well, which one? There was several. Um, and you'd have to get countries to be members of them. Today, the only two countries I can think of that would be members of a Holy League would be Liechtenstein and Monaco. And I mean, I'm not saying that's a small thing. They're tiny countries. They have a lot of money between them. The Liechtensteins, the Grimaldis have dough, so that's something. Liechtenstein doesn't have an army, but they've got the Prince's Guard in Monaco, so that's a start.
This is very reminiscent of the question we've got a couple years back. I never forgot where someone asked, "Should the Pope call for a crusade?" And you asked, "Who's he gonna call?"
Yeah, yeah. I mean,
Who would
I'm all
go?
for it. It's a little bit like the question we had about getting Byzantium back in the pre-show.
Oh, right, yeah.
I said the only way that can happen is first we've got to get rid of the Catholic Orthodoxism for a start. Then we've got to get all the countries that were once Catholic and or Orthodox to be Catholic and or Orthodox. Then we could talk about getting back Constantinople. We could talk about freeing the Holy Land. We could talk about restoring the great mosque of Damascus as the Cathedral of St. John the Baptist. We could talk about all these great things. We could drive the heathen into the desert. You bet. There's all kinds of great stuff we could do. We can come to the aid of our brethren in the Near East, and put the Copts in charge of Egypt, and oh man, there's just all kinds of good stuff we can do. But before we can get there, there are a couple of teeny teeny weeny little things we got to do first.
I'm so excited to drive the heathen into the desert, though.
But you see, the pen is mightier than the sword.
Yes. Okay, Jonathan's second question. Could Mr. Charles explain the significance of the Battle of Vienna?
Oh, can I ever? Especially because did I mention the nonsense at the Kallenberg last time?
No.
In Vienna?
I don't think so. Yeah, I don't remember.
Oh, well. Anyway, this was like something out of Lord of the Rings. In 1683, the Sultan, the Grand Turk, unleashed his forces. They had already seized all of the Balkans and most of Hungary. They crossed the frontier. The emperor left the city to try to gather forces out west in the Tyrol. The city itself was defended by the Prince von Starnberg and the Turkish legions, burning and pillaging as they went, invested the city. There they sat within their walls. It was like the siege of Gondor or Constantinople, which is what both the Turks were hoping for and the defenders were hoping not. Well, you remember in Lord of the Rings when the orcs and the rest of Mordor's forces had surrounded Minas Tirith, and then they broke down the barrier. The great door of Gondor was smashed open. The king of the Nazgul was about ready to enter the city. Gondor faced him off, sword in hand, when suddenly a cock crowed, and then they heard the horns. Rohan had come at last. Well, that is what happened at the siege of Vienna. For there they were, and suddenly they heard the horns. Jan Sobieski, king of Poland, riding with his men from out of the north. They broke the siege, and the defenders poured out of the city, and between them they chased the Turks off the battlefield. The Turks left behind an important substance: beans, coffee beans. And a Turkish prisoner taught the Austrians how to make coffee. But not just that. They made rolls in the shape of a crescent. Yes, This is true,
No,
not a joke.
I'm laughing because the way you said you're a Turkish prisoner. Like, what did they torture him? Did they give us all your intel? I said, okay, I'll teach you how to make coffee.
It was just like that. And then he opened up a coffee shop, Honest Abdul's.
Oh, man.
But no, that was the beginning of the coffee shop culture in Vienna and the whole coffee and croissant thing, which to this day should commemorate in your mind the great siege of Vienna. Now, what this did, it was the beginning of the end for the Ottoman Empire. Within 20 years, they've been pushed out of Hungary, out of Transylvania, across the Danube. And from that time on, over the next 100 years, it was just a story of decline, next 200 years. Well, it was a tremendous, tremendous thing. Had Vienna fallen, the Turks would have swarmed into Poland, they would have swarmed into Germany. Who knows where they would have stopped? The Rhine? Who knows? Would they have poured into the Italian peninsula? Maybe. It would have been an incredible disaster for Europe and for the faith. Now, in case I didn't tell the story, last September 7th, a group of so-called identitarians wanted to commemorate the Great Siege at the Kahlenberg, which is the hill overlooking Vienna, where King Jan Sobieski and his men surveyed the battle. Well, the Antifa got wind of it, so they cut off all the roads to the Kahlenberg. But due to the miracle of social media, the identitarians informed their membership, and instead they had a big torchlight and banner procession through downtown Vienna, commemorating the siege. Meanwhile, the Antifa were left to man the mountain roads in the pouring rain. And they were very upset, so they took out their annoyance on various hikers that passed by and beat them up. The police did nothing to disperse them.